Rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Blackthorn Developments as Layla Bennett stood in the lobby. 23 floors above her was the office of the most notoriously difficult CEO in Manhattan, and she was already late.
Perfect,
She muttered under her breath, pushing damp strands of hair behind her ears.
first day and I'm about to get fired.
The elevator dinged. She hurried inside with her portfolio clutched against her chest, pulse racing as the doors slid shut. 23. The ride felt eternal. By the time the doors opened again, she was mentally rehearsing apologies. Then she walked straight into someone. The collision was solid enough to knock her backward. Warm hands caught her waist before she could fall. Her breath hitched. Dark suit, expensive watch, broad shoulders, and eyes so intensely blue they looked almost dangerous. The man steadied her slowly, fingers still wrapped around her waist a second too long. Layla looked up, and immediately wished the floor would swallow her whole, because every employee on the floor had suddenly gone silent.
Oh my God,
Whispered a woman nearby. The man in front of her didn't move, didn't blink, didn't release her. His gaze dragged over her face with unsettling calm before settling on her mouth. Heat climbed her neck instantly.
I'm so sorry.
Layla rushed out.
I wasn't looking where I was going.
No.
He said quietly. His voice was deep, smooth, controlled.
You weren't.
Then his eyes dropped briefly to her lips again, just long enough for her stomach to tighten. He finally let go of her waist, and somehow that felt worse. Layla forced herself to step back, trying to ignore the strange tension suddenly wrapping around the air between them. The entire office was still watching. Why was everyone staring? The man adjusted the cuff of his suit with maddening composure.
Name.
Layla Bennett.
Something unreadable flickered across his face. Then,
You're late, Ms. Bennett.
her stomach dropped, because suddenly she knew exactly who he was. Elias Blackthorn, CEO, her boss, and judging by the terrifying silence around them, a very dangerous man to crash into.
Traffic was...
I don't care.
The coldness in his tone hit like a slap. Whatever warmth had been in his eyes moments ago vanished instantly behind polished indifference. He stepped around her.
Conference room. Now.
Layla stared after him in disbelief as employees scattered like frightened birds the second he passed. What an asshole. She grabbed her portfolio harder and followed him, irritation bubbling beneath her embarrassment. By the time she entered the conference room, Elias was standing near the windows with one hand in his pocket. Rain painted silver shadows across his sharp profile. He didn't look at her when he spoke.
Your resume was impressive.
Layla blinked.
Thank you?
But impressive resumes mean very little to me.
There it was again. That edge. Like every word from him carried deliberate pressure. Layla straightened instinctively.
With all due respect, if you already decided I'm incompetent, why hire me?
Finally, Elias looked at her, and the sheer intensity in his gaze made her heartbeat stutter. Because for one impossible second, he looked angry that she existed and attracted to her at the exact same time. His jaw tightened slightly.
You talk too much.
And you're rude.
A dangerous silence filled the room. Layla immediately regretted saying it. But then, to her complete shock, the corner of his mouth twitched, barely, like he was fighting a smile.
You should be careful, Ms. Bennett.
His voice dropped lower this time.
Most people here are terrified of me.
Layla crossed her arms.
Maybe they should raise their standards.
Something shifted in his expression then. Not anger. Something darker. Something heated. Elias took one slow step toward her, then another. Every nerve in her body suddenly became aware of how large he was. How close.
How unfortunate for you,
He murmured.
because I enjoy a challenge.
And somewhere deep in Elias Blackthorn's chest, something dangerously close to obsession began. The next morning, Layla decided she hated Elias Blackthorn. Not in the casual, harmless way people hated bad subway delays or overpriced coffee. No, she hated him with alarming sincerity. Because somehow, after one conversation, the man had managed to crawl under her skin. And worse, he seemed completely aware of it.
You're glaring at the building,
Her coworker Sophie observed as they stepped out of the elevator. Layla adjusted the strap of her bag.
I'm mentally setting it on fire.
Sophie snorted.
Ah, you met Elias.
Oh, so he terrorizes everyone equally?
Equal opportunity menace.
Layla glanced toward the glass office overlooking the entire floor. The blinds were half open, and even from here she could see him. Dark suit, phone pressed to his ear, sharp jaw tense with irritation. The kind of man who looked expensive even while angry. As if sensing her stare, his gaze lifted suddenly, directly to her. Layla's breath caught. There was nothing subtle about the way his eyes swept over her. Slow, intentional, like he was cataloging every detail. Then he looked away first, which somehow felt more unsettling.
Okay.
Sophie whispered beside her.
Either he wants to fire you or sleep with you.
Layla nearly choked.
Excuse me?
I've worked here 3 years. Elias barely looks at people. Meanwhile, yesterday he stared at you like he was planning a murder or a wedding.
That's horrifying.
Welcome to Blackthorn.
Unfortunately, things only got worse, because Elias apparently enjoyed tormenting her personally. Every meeting became verbal warfare, every design review turned into an argument, and every time Layla snapped back at him, he looked pleased, which was deeply irritating.
You changed the entire west elevation,
Elias said one evening, flipping through her revised proposal. Layla leaned against the conference table, exhausted after 12 straight hours of work.
You told me it lacked character.
It still lacks character.
She narrowed her eyes.
You're impossible.
And yet you're still here.
I enjoy proving you wrong.
That dangerous, almost smile appeared again. God, she hated that smile. Because Elias rarely smiled fully. It was always restrained, controlled, like he held himself back from things constantly.
Careful,
He murmured.
you sound attached to my attention.
Layla laughed incredulously.
Your ego is unbelievable.
And yours is adorable.
She froze. Elias froze too. The word had slipped out accidentally. For the first time since meeting him, genuine surprise crossed his face. The room went quiet. Something shifted between them. Something warmer, more intimate. Layla swallowed hard. Elias slowly closed the file in front of him.
You should go home.
The low roughness in his voice made her stomach tighten.
It's midnight.
She blinked.
Are you concerned about me?
No.
Too quick, too sharp. Layla smirked slightly.
Oh my God.
Elias's eyes narrowed.
You enjoy being insufferable, don't you?
You're worried about me.
I'm worried your work quality will decline from exhaustion.
Sure.
His jaw flexed, and suddenly he stepped closer. Close enough that Layla could smell cedarwood and expensive cologne. Close enough that her pulse immediately betrayed her.
You think you know everything about me already.
His voice was quieter now, darker.
No.
Layla admitted softly.
I think you work very hard trying not to let people know anything about you.
Something unreadable flickered across his expression. For one fragile second, he looked tired. Not cruel, not cold. Just tired. Then his walls slammed back into place.
You should leave, Miss Bennett.
There was distance in his tone again. Layla hated how disappointing that felt. She grabbed her bag.
Good night, Elias.
His eyes lifted sharply at the sound of his first name. And for some reason, neither of them moved. The tension stretched, heavy, breathing, alive. Then Elias finally said quietly,
Good night, Layla.
The way he said her name should have been illegal. By the third month working together, the entire office had become invested in whatever strange war existed between them, mostly because Elias treated everyone with detached professionalism. Except Layla. With Layla, he became reactive, sharp, possessive of conversations, annoyingly attentive, which became especially obvious during company events. Like tonight. Layla adjusted the deep emerald dress hugging her figure as she entered the hotel ballroom. The annual Blackthorn Charity Gala glittered with wealth and Manhattan elite. Crystal chandeliers, champagne, string quartet music drifting through the air, and standing near the center of it all, Elias Blackthorn. Her breath stalled slightly. He looked devastating tonight. Black tuxedo, dark hair pushed back neatly, expensive watch catching gold light. Every woman in the room seemed to angle toward him instinctively. But Elias looked bored by all of them, until he saw her. Then his entire expression changed. Subtly, but enough. His gaze locked onto her like a physical thing. And slowly, very slowly, his eyes moved down the length of her body. Heat bloomed across her skin.
Oh,
Sophie whispered beside her.
you're done for.
Layla ignored her, mostly because Elias was already walking toward her. And somehow, every step he took made the room quieter.
You're late.
He said once he reached her. Layla raised a brow.
You own a watch, don't you?
I own several.
Tragic.
His gaze lingered on the exposed skin of her shoulder.
You shouldn't wear that dress.
Her pulse skipped.
Oh? Why?
Elias's jaw tightened.
Because men are staring.
Layla blinked, then laughed softly in disbelief.
Are you jealous?
No.
Lie. Blatant lie. She stepped slightly closer.
And if they are staring?
His eyes darkened instantly.
Then they should learn self-preservation.
The possessiveness in his tone sent dangerous warmth spiraling through her chest. God, this man. Before she could respond, another voice interrupted.
Layla,
A tall investor approached with an easy smile.
would you honor me with a dance?
Layla barely had time to answer before Elias spoke coldly.
She's occupied.
The investor blinked awkwardly. Layla stared at Elias.
You don't get to decide that.
Elias's gaze stayed on the other man.
Yes,
He said quietly.
I do.
Tension crackled instantly. The investor wisely disappeared. Layla exhaled sharply.
What is wrong with you?
Elias stepped closer, too close.
You enjoy provoking me.
You act insane.
And yet you keep looking at me like that.
Her breath caught, because he was right. She did look at him differently now, not with irritation, not entirely. Something much more dangerous had taken root between them, something that grew every time he looked at her like she mattered too much.
You're arrogant.
She whispered.
And you're staring at my mouth.
Layla's cheeks heated immediately. Elias noticed. Of course he noticed. His voice lowered.
Tell me to stop.
The room disappeared around them.
Stop what?
Wanting to kiss you.
The words hit her like a physical blow. Heat flooded every nerve in her body. Elias looked just as affected, like saying it out loud had cost him something.
Elias.
His restraint snapped. He caught her wrist gently but firmly.
Come with me.
She should have refused. Instead, she followed him. Of course she did. He led her through empty hallways until they reached a private balcony overlooking Manhattan lights. Cold wind rushed around them, but the second Elias turned toward her, everything felt hot, tense, breathless.
You drive me insane.
He said roughly. Layla's heart pounded.
Then maybe stop glaring at me like you hate me all the time.
I don't hate you.
The intensity in his voice made her chest tighten.
I've been trying very hard not to ruin my life over you.
Her breath hitched. Elias stepped closer slowly, giving her time to move away. She didn't. His hand rose carefully to her jaw. The touch was almost reverent, which somehow felt even more intimate.
You have no idea what you do to me.
He murmured, and then he kissed her. Slow at first, like he was restraining himself. But the second Layla kissed him back, something in Elias broke. His hand slid into her hair. His mouth moved against hers with months of pent-up hunger and frustration. The kiss became consuming instantly. Possessive. Deep. Layla gasped softly against his mouth. Elias made a rough sound low in his throat that nearly destroyed her composure completely.
Jesus Christ.
He breathed against her lips.
You taste addictive.
Her hands gripped his jacket tighter.
I thought you hated me.
Elias rested his forehead against hers, and for the first time, he looked completely undone.
I was trying not to fall in love with you.
Silence. Her heart stopped. Because Elias Blackthorne didn't sound manipulative, or charming, or smooth. He sounded terrified, which meant it was real. Layla touched his face softly, and something vulnerable flickered through his eyes immediately. No one touched him casually. No one softened him like this.
You're still impossible,
She whispered. A quiet laugh escaped him.
You bring out the worst in me.
No.
Layla said softly.
I think I bring out the most honest version.
Elias stared at her for a long moment, then kissed her again, this time slower, more intimate, like he finally allowed himself to feel it fully. And beneath the Manhattan skyline, the man who had spent months pretending to hate her finally stopped pretending at all.